We are live, first time in a couple weeks. Alright, so obviously Duskmourn has dropped. There's been some changes to modern meta. Unfortunately, I'm going to be straight up, I haven't had the time to keep up on any new real tech or anything, so we're kind of going back to one of the variants of Gruul Prowess by Gruul from 924.
Duskmourn has dropped.
Made a 5-0
some
league.
changes to
Not a ton different from the last time we played the combo variant of the deck. This version cut back on bolts and darts, instead going for more things like assault strings, blossoming defense, etc. So kind of going more in on the creature aspect and carrying a little bit less about trying to finish the opponent off with burn spells or clearing away for blockers, relying more on things like evasion with slick shot or monster stories to kind of push the damage that you need to push. No copies of Questing Druid. I think a lot of people pointed out, and possibly correctly so, that trying to go along against these energy decks and demeanor whatever files just is a recipe for losing. The best thing you can do is to try to combo your opponent out if your opponent slips up and makes a mistake, and then use protection spells as best you can. So obviously with the typical 16 creatures, 4 GRC, 4 Restless with losing, 4 Soul Skirmish, Slick Shot, 4 Boggle, 4 Assault Strobe, makes a mistake, 2 Mutagenic Growth, 4 Blossoming Defense, Scale Up, and then 1 copy of Legion Leadership, and then obviously a 16 creature monster creatures damage, giving your creatures trample, 3 Lava Darts and 2 Bolts, and then formation of Lava makes it a little bit more feasible. Sideboard, 2 Mutagenic Growth, 4 Blossoming Defense, Scale Up, and then what that matters a whole lot, and then obviously a 16 creature monster creatures damage, giving your creatures trample, 3 Lava Darts and 2 Bolts, and then the sideboard, 2 Tormod's, Crypt's Funny Tip, Graveyard Nonsense, Storm, etc. 3 copies of Blood Moon kind of help out in the big mana matchups, helping to slow your opponent down, especially since you don't really care about your green mana too much. 2 D-Revs, I mean, there's a plethora of things to blow up with this, so it's always good to have a couple natural light effects. Run a foul for any type of Murktide nonsense. 2 additional copies of Protection Spells and Snakeskin Veil, and then 4 Wild Slash. Wild Slash is a bit of a bizarre one. Obviously, it's a shock, and it has the upside of basically turning into damage can't be prevented if you have a creature 4 power or greater. I assume this mostly comes in against something like energy decks, being able to kill creatures and also being able to push damage against the One Ring. It's a card that I've tried out in some versions of Lower to the Ground Burn without much success, but I guess it makes sense in the context of this Prowess deck against something. So, that said, we're back. Against the One Ring, card that I tried out in some versions, lack of a better term, Lower to the Ground Burn. Home care situation has improved a little bit. The context of my family had surgery. That said, we're back. Able to do a little bit of content creation again, so short streaming tonight. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, I've missed a couple Sundays because surgery in the family, and then we're going to be also having a move coming up here shortly. Content creation again next month and a half. So lots going on, plus work. Okay. Last time I played a little bit of Magic, I was finishing up a league before Duskmourn. Played the Gruul Energy deck. We still had a couple matches to go. It did not go particularly well. Lots going on, plus work. Seems a little bit kind of meh. You have 1 creature, a couple interactive spells, Surveil Land. Basically, you have 1 too many lands and 1 too few creatures. I still think we try it. It did not go. Do do have obviously a bit of interaction for opponents on.
A little bit.
Something. I would suspect this is Storm if they're playing Air Mesa with nothing.
Basically,
I don't think it's a great
1/2
matchup.
lands and 1/2 few creatures.
Especially when we're on the more kind of controlling hand. Yeah, I would suspect this is Storm if they're playing Air Mesa with nothing. No, against Jeskai. Alright. Especially when we're on the more cosmetic ending. Indeed. Kind of controlling hand. Yeah, I would suspect this is Storm if they're playing Air Mesa with nothing. No, against Jeskai. Alright. Still looking for creatures, just like suspect it's going to have a lot of ending. Indeed. Kind of controlling hand. Yep, look at those spells. Creatures, just like suspect it's going to have a lot of ending. I think we just literally pick up Gigantha here because we're not really doing anything else. So. There might be some echo, I'm not sure. I think we just literally pick up Gigantha here because we're on my end. Okay, I see why. That should help. Magnum Opus. Yeah, there was a double reverb because I had desktop sound also active, even though there shouldn't be any desktop sound. Thanks for catching that. Narset, sure. Let's go ahead and deal with that so we don't get hit by any shenanigans. This is the problem with playing this deck, right? Like, what on earth is going on over there? Multiple Phlages, Magnum Opus. I feel like some type of bad creativity deck. Not fetching here because we want to leave as many lands in our deck as possible. Okay. I think we have lost this game. Yeah, unfortunately, that's when you're playing the more combo-centric version of the deck, you run into that. Opponent's got a Phlage here. There's no reason in continuing this game, so. Alright, sideboarding. Probably want Blood Moons. Probably want these. Probably want the Tormods, Crypts. Definitely don't want these guys. The question becomes which of our pump spells are the worst. Probably 2 copies of Scale Up. Could like try to bring in Wild Slash to fight around the One Ring, but I think that's you probably only really want this against the energy decks. D-Rev doesn't blow anything up worthwhile unless they're a Chalice deck in addition to everything else. Run afoul is kind of whatever, so I think you bring in these because they showed us Magnum Opus and things, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're like a Torrential Gearhulk deck, but that doesn't even make sense. Snake's going to be able to help protect their creatures. Then Blood Moon because they're a 3-color deck. So. Lander. Not the best of hands, but we'll keep it. Yeah, I think we go for it here, but chances of it living through a turn are kind of... Because, like, our options were, like, play fetch land, fetch up commercial district, surveil, and then play 2 of these. That way they're not 1-for-1ing us with removal, but yeah, because like prismatic ending. Alright, not the worst, I suppose, here. See what we can surveil. Don't want a 3rd land right now. Also, I mean, they're kind of playing around Blood Moon, but at the same time, they're also kind of not. Figure they're going to fetch basic island here, and yep. March of the Worldly Light. It's like all of our basics, so not exactly ideal here. Much as I would love another threat, I do think we need to turn on Delirium here. Salt Strobe's a bit of a weird one. Like, we could cash it in for 3 damage here, but I just don't think that's worth it right now. Surveil a Swiftspear, immediately draw a Swiftspear. Okay. Well, I think we don't commit anything more to the board here. I don't really want to get 3-for-1 by Wrath the Sky, so I think I'm just going to surveil here. Obviously, I could pick up Gigantha, but we're like a turn or so away from Gigantha being relevant. At least a turn. So, especially since we've put 2 of our basic mountains into the graveyard. Go ahead and plot that. Apparently your opponent is stuck on lack of red mana there, so. That would be my only guess as to why they gave up that early, or they saw the slick shot and knew we were going to kind of outgrind them. This is like one of those matchups where you kind of want Questing Druid, but at the same time I can see the, not trying to outgrind these decks that are just built to grind. This hand is so close, but yet so far away. Because we only have 1 threat. I mean, I think we roll with it because we have the 2 baubles, but we don't give our opponent the opportunity to use their mana efficiently. I mean, it's a keep, but it's risky just from the standpoint of only having the 1 threat. So To a certain degree it is. I don't know that it's... In DRC, both have their pluses and minuses. Well, I mean, I guess we kind of go in here. So, opponent has shown us March and... Yep, we're getting marched. That's unfortunately drawing their third land. Narset is a problem. Because of the way we sequenced, we get the draw off Bobble, but we don't get... Sure, let's draw another land. Could have fetched a Surveil there, but... Opponent has no lands, but man, do they have all their removal. Prismatic Ending and March. Yeah, we definitely don't need yet another land. Ask and you shall receive, I guess. So we know they have March. I don't even know if they run Counterspell, but I'm just going to kind of err on the side of not playing out Gigantha without protection, or at least attempting to have protection, since we know we have the next. Curious. They did not play the One Ring. Alright, this is kind of getting ridiculous. Counterspell. Why are people playing Aethergust? Like, legitimately, why are people playing Aethergust? Subtlety. Oh, okay. Kind of surprised that didn't happen. But I mean, we're literally playing against removal.decks, so. I'm gonna main phase it? I say that's kind of questionable. I guess if you don't want to pitch cards, it would make sense. Why did I target that with Monstrous Rage? Wow. Why did I even remotely give my opponent a chance in this game when we could have just literally pounded them into the ground? That was so dumb on many levels. Oh, jeez. At this point, the only pitch elemental that is left that's remotely playable is the Solitude and Endurance. I mean, I guess they're all technically playable, but go ahead and take care of this Narset. Opponent's trying to set up for their Flage. Oh, for crying out loud. I mean, I definitely screwed up this game by targeting my opponent's Solitude with Monstrous Rage, but I legitimately don't know that we have, like, any prayer against this deck in most normal circumstances. Like, they've literally got Bolt, Helix, March, Prismatic Ending, and Solitude. Oh, and Counterspell, by the way, too. And Ether Gust, and... But at this point in Doyle, I would say probably, of the ones that are unbanned, the One Ring. I would suspect the 3 most likely cards to be banned in Modern in the next 2 years before MH4, barring anything else printed in obviously standard sets and whatnot. Psychic Frog, One Ring, and Flage are probably the 3 most likely to bite a ban. Well, yeah, they play Bolt, Helix, Prismatic Ending, March of Otherworldly Light, Prismari Command. They played Magnum Opus, or showed us Magnum Opus Game 1, which I'm not even sure why that's in their deck. I'm sure there's a Days Undoing floating around somewhere if they're playing Narset. Welcome back to Modern! Here's a deck that just says, screw you small creatures, because, you know, those can't be playable in Modern right now. Unless you're playing Energy. So. I know there's been some, like, I've been trying to keep up some with the meta the last couple of weeks. But, I mean, it doesn't look like anything's really changed the last couple of weeks. I mean, you've basically got kind of how things, you know, Boros Energy, Mardu Energy, Domain Zoo. I don't 100% understand why Zoo is suddenly coming back to the fore, other than, I guess, Scion plus Leyline when people aren't playing a heavy amount of Pick Your Poisons is fine. Plus, being basically a 3 or 4 color deck, you get to play, you know, Consigned to Memory, Pyroclasm, Sun Cleanser. You get to play a bunch of, like, really good cards against a lot of the meta. But I still don't understand why this deck has made a huge comeback, other than I guess it's the best aggro deck in the format right now. Dimir Frogtide, Ruby Storm, Eldrazi. Doesn't surprise me that Eldrazi's been sliding down a little bit, because other than Energy, I don't know that Eldrazi has a lot of good matchups against Storm or Murktide. Amulet Titan's been holding up, Naya Energy, Kuro's Vengeance, Yawgmoth, Grinding Station, Eldrazi. Like, none of these decks in the top kind of surprise me. Let's take a look at these. Just got control lists. So, our opponent at least was kind of playing something unique, because they weren't really on the Energy sub-package. So they were running... honestly... So I think Izzet versus Gruul comes down to... Do you want to try to play the explosive, get the game over? Or do you want to try to leverage a little bit of card selection to try to keep pace with the mid-range decks? And I don't know that either is a great approach in the meta right now. And is it you get the ability to play Consign to Memory, which is important if you have Eldrazi in your meta. So I think Gruul's a little bit better in the kind of linear matchups, and is a little bit better at trying to leverage in the fair matchups. But I don't know that anything that has red aggro creatures in it outside of Boros Energy is particularly good right now. I think you can have some success in smaller metas like FNMs, leagues if you run hot and don't do the boneheaded things I do sometimes. But I think both have their merits. A lot of it honestly comes down to familiarity, your play style, and your local meta. The more linear the meta is, probably the better. Well, and Consign also deals with it too. But I think the problem with, and like I said, if you love Preordained, then play as it. Like there's not a ton of difference between the two decks. I mean, you can play a lot of the same tricks in Is It that this Gruul list plays, outside of playing outside of playing Scale Up. So Sun Cleanser and Chain of the Rocks. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is you can easily play one or two colors and then splash for board cards. And Sun Cleanser is a perfectly reasonable card to be splashing right now. Especially considering energy is like 20-25% of the meta overall. So I unfortunately don't have the time to or haven't had time to test all of the iterations that I would like to test. And honestly, it's really hard to constantly test iterations when you're going 2-3 every league. Like even in the friendly leagues, I played against someone who had a decked out Boros Energy deck. So, as much as we caught some heat when we were playing Rakdos Scam, when we were jokingly doing the Let's Get Rakdos Scam ban series, in things, it's just like the friendly leagues aren't really that friendly anymore. So it's just less gambling, so to speak. That said, game number 3 I did, punt by targeting my opponent's Solitude instead of our Gigantha with the Monstrous Rage. So that would have certainly punched through a good bit more damage, and maybe we would have had a prayer. But it's hard to beat the Jeskai deck with Solitudes, Bolts, Galvanic Discharges, Chain House, Foul Deal the Frog, and the Sun Cleansers are helpful against energy. Yeah, I mean, I can't really fault either one. I could even see Boros being okay. Just running the 16 creatures and then running Apostle's Blessing, Chain to the Rocks, and Sun Cleanser as the splash. I mean, I don't know that anything in particular fixes every matchup, but Sun Cleanser might be worth a splash. Chain dealing with Frog, that might be the single best answer to Frog in the format for aggro decks. You don't want to play Static Prison, obviously, in a non-energy build. Unholy Heat and Galvanic Discharge can always kill it. You really don't want to path it and give them an extra land to operate with their Murktides later in the game. So I honestly think Chain could be a very good card. I know someone had also suggested like some of the Blood Rush creatures, Gorklian Rampager, and I forget what the green one, Manglehorn or something. I can't remember if it's Manglehorn or... And we're up against Gigantha. We'll look at this because no lands. Basically a 2-lander. What are we putting back here? Putting back Blossoming Defense, or are we putting back one of our creatures? Guess we put back Blossoming Defense for now. Oh, I see. Well, no, there's also a Blood Rush for 1 green that goes +3/+2. I can't remember if it's I don't think it's Manglehorn, because I think Manglehorn is the come in and destroy a the Scion. Of course they do. We do need a green card or a green source though. So I can blank a bolt on something, but I can't blank. That's going to be a bit more difficult to punch through. Alright, well, guess we plot this and hope we don't die next turn. Hope we draw a green source. Asking for a lot right now. Yeah, I think Rampager is the best of the batch. Okay, play this. I can't get past double first strike, so moving on. Blood Moon's debatable against Leyline specifically. Definitely want those. Probably want Run Afoul. Might want Snakeskin. Lava Dart's only remotely good against specifically Ragavan. Bolt's really not good in this matchup. Not a huge fan of Blood Moon, but I do think we're going to have to get a little bit lucky to win this matchup. Just go down one. Down like one scale up and one assault strobe. This hand is actively pretty terrible. Yeah, I do think we keep it, but yup. I think we just hold back Mishra's Bauble for right now. So the reason I'm holding back Mishra's Bauble is that maybe we can punch through a Scion if they tap out for it next turn. I mean, it's gonna take a little bit here to get lucky to try to kill them. We have Commercial District to fetch. Blood Moon, unfortunately, is terrible in the face of Leyline specifically. What's up, Kenneth? I don't know why our opponent is fetching. Like, it almost serves no point when you have Leyline out to fetch, but, you know. Like, unless, I mean, you're afraid that I'm going to blow it up, which I suppose is theoretically possible. I think we can safely put another mountain in the graveyard. How much damage could we actually force through if for some reason they don't block? One. I actually shouldn't have played this out. I should have played my fetch land. Monstrous Rage is an interesting card. That is a reason to wait. I'm gonna go ahead and use Snakeskin Veil here. Scale it, please. Opponent played that fairly well, forcing us to drag out some resources that we really didn't have. So Dash of Van, huh? I mean, the quasi-nice part is our deck has a lot of things that just don't do anything for them here. Including, well, Swiftspear, unfortunately, they can cast. So. It's going to fetch basic mountain here. My opponent, I was going to say, maybe it was a little risky to fetch there. If my opponent had, like, Bolt plus... Stubborn Denial, they would have gotten us there, because during that fetch... Kind of hard to beat removal plus all this, and that's unfortunately largely what this format's become. Yeah, the second. Why would you run double Lush Portico? That can't possibly be right as a mana base. Not that it particularly matters here, but I say, what would the point of playing Legion Leadership be here? Or do you just have Tribal Flames? Nope. Territorial Kazooie. Alright. GG's. So, what do we think so far? Same modern, different day. I think, despite copying the sideboard, I think I'd probably go back to some number of Pick Your Poison in the sideboard over the Run Afoul, and maybe even Destructive Rev, just because Leyline Scion's making a little bit of a comeback in the format. In theory, Blood Moon should be good, but we literally played against a 5-color deck and a 3-color Jeskai control deck. And Blood Moon's completely useless while Leyline's in play. Leyline of the Guild Pact. And it's not even that great against the 3-color decks. And even Eldrazi, a lot of times Eldrazi is expecting Blood Moon in the post-board games. Whether it be talismans out of some of the builds, whether it be fetching Forest or Wastes. A lot of them just don't care about Blood Moon. And even by the time they get Blood Moon down, you're either dealing with a Trinisphere or a Chalice on one. And your game plan's kind of... Anyway. So... sad to say, I mean, I think it's fine in the energy decks just because, they apply so much pressure and your opponent has to answer the board. Blood Moon can kind of get them, etc. And while we can kind of do that, we're only playing 17.5 lands. So not always casting a 3-mana enchantment's realistic. I don't know what alternative we could play, honestly. To even help. And then the rest of the sideboard, Wild Slashes, I mean, as I've already kind of laid out in the deck tech, those are most likely for specifically Boros and Mardu Energy as a way to both fight the creatures and to be able to push through the One Ring. I don't think you want to bring it in against other One Ring decks, like for instance the Jeskai deck we were playing. Still don't think any of the Prowess decks or Burn are well positioned, but we'll continue grinding, see how it does. But I did want to get a short stream in tonight. I want to thank you all for your patience, but when family stuff happens, family stuff's kind of a priority over content creation. So as a member of my family, I had neck surgery, and I've been kind of helping take care of them. So that and trying to plan a move and work, all that kind of kept me running the rat race a little bit the last couple weeks, so that's why there hasn't been a stream. But hopefully we'll get back on track here, and hope to see you guys next week. This has been John for MTG Nexus, both on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks Ken, O'Doyle, Jay, and Kevin for hanging out, and see you.